Okay, me personally, here's the thing. I think that I was born in the correct century because this century has Monster Truck Romeo and Juliet, which is inspired, incredible, something that I personally would use a time machine for. Oh my God, wait, hold on. Why are you crying? Oh, okay, you have to read Shakespeare for class? Yeah, I mean, I also cried when that happened to me. Yeah, I had to read Taming of the Shrew. You don't have to read Taming of the Shrew, do you? Yeah, okay, good. It's trash. I was only 15. I don't know why they did that to me. But what are you reading? Oh, Hamlet? Hamlet's really good. It's really good. It's basically The Lion King, but Simba dies. Yeah, I don't think that's too much of a spoiler, babe. It's been out since 1600. Yeah. Okay, I mean, no, look, how about we hang out? We chat a bit of Shakespeare, how to understand it, how to comprehend it, what the words mean, what meter is. Does that sound fun? Yay, okay, good. Look at how much we have to get through. It's a lot, let's go. Hi, I'm Pilar. And today we're gonna talk about William Shakespeare. Specifically, how to understand his work, how to read it, and how to make overall comprehension of this Elizabethan English easier. And today I'm actually joined by Ophelia. Ophelia. She's right. Hold on. You might look at her. I'm actually joined by Ophelia and Soren today. But Ophelia has special mention because of William Shakespeare. Aww. As you can probably tell, I'm really into Shakespeare. I'm an actor. I've been performing Shakespeare for a while now, I think like 9 years. And he's kind of my thing. Like, I really try to go out for a lot of Shakespeare. And one of the general responses is pretty much like a bit of fear and apprehension, kind of like you at the beginning of this video. That's okay, because I'm here to tell you that they are just words. Words, words, words.
Oh, brother!
My jaw clicked. I'll stop making Hamlet jokes. But they're words, and you use those all of the time. So you actually have a ton of access to William Shakespeare. The problem, and I'm gonna get really close up to you here for a second, is that someone told you that you are incapable of understanding that language because they've put him on this grand pedestal that's made of gold and academia, and they're like, well, only certain people really understand Shakespeare and only certain people can access Shakespeare's work. He was a guy. He was a guy. He was literally just a guy who wrote plays with all of his friends, was sometimes in them, and his dad was an ale taster at a certain point. Like, he was literally a guy. I've been to his house. He's not that special. It was actually one of the best days of my life, but I will never, ever, ever let a gatekeeper win. So we're here to demystify his work. I want to start with my biggest tip for Shakespeare because it's like, I think the basis of the way that I now understand Shakespeare, and it's what I wish that I had been told when I was 15 and like told, pick that up and read it. I actually want you to put down the book, put down that damn book, put down that Arden, put down that No Fear Shakespeare, put down the Project Gutenberg, and go watch the play that you are being told or that you wish to read. There are so many professionally recorded versions of these plays. You have like The Tragedy of Macbeth on Apple TV with Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand. You have the Royal Shakespeare Company streaming on Amazon Prime. The Globe Player offers their plays from Shakespeare's Globe for just a few pounds online. There's the National Theatre Live, there's Drama Online. And I understand that some of this might be behind a paywall. I offer you another suggestion humbly, which is that there is a theater company near you. Yes, you, that is dying to share some free Shakespeare with you in the months of between May and August. They would love to share some free Shakespeare in the Park with you. And watching Shakespeare in the Park outside, the way that it was done back in the Elizabethan era, I mean, not fully in a park, but you know what I mean. Like, when it is done outside and you hear and experience the words outside, especially the forest plays, oh my God, it's incredible. It's such an incredible experience because that is what Shakespeare is. It's an experience. Shakespeare is experiential. You are meant to hear and see the action unfold in front and around you. Publishing the plays the way that we have them now, right? Publishing these plays was not something that was done back then. There was only one other guy who did it, and he was flamed for it because plays were not considered real literary works. And I know that we think that they are now, but back then they weren't. Like, it actually is a bit of a miracle that this even exists. Because as an actor, when I get a script, I get the whole play and I just have to like highlight my own lines. What actors back then had to do was they got a scroll. Oh, Ophelia's scratching. What actors back then got was a roll, an actual scroll of paper with all of their lines written and only their cue line. So the way that these plays were actually collected was by literally piecemealing together all of the roles. That's how much this was not meant to really exist. But they do, and now we study them, right? So like, what do you do? Now, how do you understand this text that was never really meant to be text? You go watch it, you go experience it, you, I don't know, pick up an audiobook even. I think that they have like audio drama versions of them available, and then you can read alongside with it too. But I promise you that that is going to just up your comprehension of this so much more. And I know that you're thinking, it's like, well, how do I watch it when I don't even understand the words? I promise you that your brain fills in the gaps. I think that sometimes we tell ourselves that something is really hard, and that stops us from being able to fully do it. I am telling you that it is really hard, but it's also worth it, and your brains actually become accustomed to hearing the language, to experiencing the language, and feeling the language in your heart and in your body. And that is actually an incredible segue into meter. So meter is the rhythmic structure of a line. When you are learning about poetry in class, or you hear scanning or scansion in regards to Shakespeare, they're asking you to scan the meter. And that's because Shakespeare writes in two distinct styles. The first one is prose. Prose is pretty much what you are used to reading. The girl goes to the bar, the cat jumps over the roof. These are all lines that you can just read, and there's not like any poetic meter. It doesn't mean that they don't sound cool or beautiful, but it just means that there is no like rhythm structure to it. You can take the line from Romeo and Juliet, "A dog of the house of Montague moves me." That is just a line of prose. There's no rhythmic structure to that. But a bit later in that same scene, Act 1, Scene 1, Prince Aeschylus comes into the scene and he breaks up this fight. And Prince Aeschylus says, "Your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace." That is a metered line. That is an iambic pentameter or blank verse. An iamb is a set of two syllables. This set is referred to as a foot. A set of two syllables is an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. So in the case of Prince Aeschylus's line, "your lives," the stress is gonna fall on that second syllable. So iambic pentameter is 5 of these feet that form 10 syllables. 5 times 2 is 10, and that's about as much math as I've ever done as an actor. Iambic pentameter is often nicknamed the heartbeat rhythm, right? This is what it sounds like. That's why I think Shakespeare lives in our bones. It lives in our blood. It lives in our heart, because of the fact that it is the rhythm of our own heartbeat. That is iambic pentameter. And that is why I think those words have stayed with us for so long. Shakespeare's not the only poet to write in iambic pentameter, but he's the person that we've chosen to kind of front iambic pentameter, so to speak. And I know you're wondering, you're like, okay, Pilar, why does this matter? Why do I need to care about meter? Meter, especially if you're an actor, or someone who is just reading these words out loud, meter gives us so much information, and particularly tells us what's important or informs us of characters' states of being. Take the line, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the piece. What you're stressing is your lives, right? So let's actually do it together. Lives pay for of peace. Your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace. These are the 5 stress syllables in this line, and actually when we sit with it and we analyze it a little bit, you're basically realizing if we cause more trouble, we will pay with our lives. Ta-da! And that's what happens in Act 1 of Romeo and Juliet. We also see this in To Be or Not to Be, right? The famous soliloquy from Hamlet. To be or not to be, right? That's what we're stressing. Be or not be. That's what we're asking, right? To live or to die. That is what is important to Hamlet in that moment. That is what is being communicated to you as a listener, as an audience member, or even as a reader if you decide that this is something that you'd like to do for your own understanding. What about prose, and why is there a change between verse and prose? The thing about Shakespeare is that everyone is going to tell you that there's a bunch of rules, and if people have one for why verse and prose are changed. I do not necessarily subscribe to the idea that there are any rules in Shakespeare. There are standards, but you deviate from those standards because he deviated from those standards. So even though there is metered lines, he breaks the meter all the time, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the change between verse and prose is typically reserved for people who are of a lower rank in class, of birth, whatever you want to call it. They typically speak in prose, while people of a higher class, nobility, royalty, they all speak in the beautiful, elegant, gorgeous verse. You can actually experience the rule in action in A Midsummer's Night Dream, where the mechanicals, who are this troupe of actors, they are of a lower class. They all speak in prose. But when you get to Titania and Oberon, you get to the 4 lovers, they are all of, in Titania and Oberon's case, they're royalty, and in the case of the lovers, they're all nobility, higher birth people. They all speak in verse. You see the rule broken in Much Ado About Nothing quite frequently, where actually a lot of Much Ado is prose. And when I think about the difference between prose and verse and why the change happened, I actually think it's a bit more nuanced than just class. My preferred way of thinking about the switch between prose and verse, and I think something that you can use to analyze when we switch from prose to verse, is I think that prose is the language of wit. It is the language of logical thought. But verse is emotional truth. It is emotional vulnerability. I think people in these plays are so moved that they suddenly start speaking from the heart. Hello? It's incredible. It's incredible. And look, I'm the girl who's always gonna de-pedestalize William Shakespeare because I want him for the masses the way that he once was. But he was a genius. Like, sorry, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, and he's trash. That was brilliant. Now that I'm telling you what's in my heart, I'm gonna sound like a heart? Come on. Come on, I hear you. I am leaving you hanging because you want to know how to know what the words that you don't know mean. I hope that made sense. Shakespeare used words that we don't use today anymore. High, avant, doth, durst. What the hell do all these words mean? And how do I learn to read and to like work these words into my practice when I'm reading? There are a few resources. The first one, we all know that when we don't know what a word means, we just kind of look up avant definition, right? And we pull out a dictionary and we look up the word that we don't know. There is one extra word that I think that you should add to your search when you don't know what a word means, or if there is a word that is being used in a context that you're not used to. I like to add the word archaic right at the end of my search. I always have my phone with me when I'm reading Shakespeare, or my laptop open when I'm reading Shakespeare, because it gives me really quick access to just be like, I don't know what avant means. What does avant mean? I suddenly know that avant means away back in the day. Now, if you're someone who is reading Shakespeare more frequently, right? Or this is not your first rodeo with Shakespeare, but it gets really annoying to have to whip your phone out every single time. I don't know if this next option is going to be easier than whipping your phone out every single time, but it's definitely a great resource to have if you're a student, if you're an actor, and that is the lexicons. They are split in 2 books. They go A to M and N to Z. And this is every word defined and located, more than 50,000 quotations identified. This is every single word in Shakespeare's body of work defined.
Wow. 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 Wow.
I personally love the lexicons, and especially when I'm learning a playtext and like really doing a super close read, I just go, oh, let me look in the lexicon, and it's there. Now, if there's just like a line that you're not getting, or you're not understanding some of the references being made, because Shakespeare is going to make a ton of references to Jove, who is Zeus, or just other myths in general that people would have normally had a bit more access to, or references to Elizabethanism, or if you're reading or watching the histories, they're making a reference to things that were within like common knowledge of the history of England. I highly recommend that you just look up an analysis, and that there's Reddit, there's so many forums of people and Shakespeare enthusiasts who are just so excited to share their knowledge and also have community within learning Shakespeare and discussing Shakespeare.
I'm editing right now, and I just want to get on here really quickly before anyone tries to tussle with me in the comments. I know that Reddit is not where you're going to go to for official citations or official scholarly advice. There are scholars on Reddit who devote their lives to this and, you know, want to talk about it. But you're not going to cite off of Reddit. I also just want to posit for the keyboard warriors that I do not think that if you are reading Macbeth for the first time, you need to hop on JSTOR to read about it. Talk to someone else. You want to fight someone on Reddit. Please don't do it in my comments. This is all peace and all love.
There are still words that still have really unclear meanings, and that's okay. And everyone just kind of throws their best guess out as to what the hell that word could mean. The final resource I want to share to just better comprehend all of this is No Fear Shakespeare, which is, okay, that's behind a paywall. There's Lit Charts. Lit Charts is a free resource that you can use to better understand Shakespeare. What it does is essentially it takes the Elizabethan text and it puts it side by side with the modern text with a modern translation, so that you can actually read the line, and it's more accessible for like our 21st century brains. You do lose poetic meter when you're reading this, and a lot of people yuck on it kind of for that reason. While I do think it's incredibly important that we are constantly challenging our ideas of what we can know and what we have the ability to learn, I also think that if you need to read it because you're getting graded on it and you don't understand and it's getting really difficult, pull up a lit chart. I pulled up a lit chart at an audition where I was asked to prepare 2 monologues. They asked me while I was in the session to prepare a third. They handed me the side and I was like, cool. I had 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes ish, while they had another appointment with someone, and I pulled up the lit charts to read the modern text before I, did my homework with the Elizabethan text. And guess who booked it? Me. So just stop yucking on the lit charts and on the No Fear Shakespeares, because they are invaluably useful. I'm off my pedestal now. Like, none of this it's not easy, right? It's not easy, but it gets easier. I have been reading Shakespeare for about 12 years. I've been performing it for about 9. And every single time that I sit with the text, that I hear the text, I see the action, I read the text, and I get to analyze it when I'm acting, or when I'm just having like a really fun critical read of the text, I actually feel that it gets more second nature to me. It's not that the language suddenly reads like modern English. Like, I think anyone who says that is kind of an asshole, respectfully. It's more like the heightened language is still there, but I can more easily climb and rise to the heights that the language is asking me to reach for. So I hope that this helps you develop more confidence to scale those heights as well. I hope that this has made Shakespeare less intimidating, and that you're excited to crack open a Shakespeare, that you're excited to like maybe even go support some local theater. Go see those incredible actors in your community put up some beautiful Shakespeare for free or fairly cheap, because Shakespeare is so inexpensive to do. It really is. Most importantly, I hope that this helped you feel like you have access to do something that other people said is really hard. It is, but it's worth it, and I know that you can do it. I'll see you next time.